Hello and welcome to Giant Wednesday. My name's Alex from Super Giant Media, and I'm here today to teach you how to cut people out of your life. No wait, that can't be right. How to cut people out on Photoshop. That makes a lot more sense. So maybe you want to cut out of someone to put on your website. Maybe you want to use it on display ads. Maybe you have other nefarious purposes for it. I don't know. I'm not really here to judge. So I'm using Adobe Photoshop 2021, and as you can see, I'm using it on a MacBook Pro. Some of these features were added quite recently, I think in the 2020 version. But if you're using a slightly older version of Photoshop, there will still be some principles you can use, and certainly if you're using a Windows computer as well, it shouldn't be a problem for you. Let's get straight on with it. So one of my favourite things to do is look at hilarious stock photo images. This is a woman playing VR with a PlayStation 2 controller, and I'm pretty sure that this is a VR thing that holds a phone. There's just so many things wrong with it, but for the purposes of this tutorial, let's try and cut her out. So as you can see, she's on this nice white background, and you can use this quick selection tool. Maybe you're familiar with that, and you can sort of paint a selection onto the person, but you'll find that when you cut them out, it normally has quite a choppy edge. So what you want to do is, with this quick selection tool selected, or any of these selection tools, you want to go to select subject, and what that's going to do is that's going to automatically create a selection from the most prominent object in the image, which obviously is this lady. So as you can see, it's instantly created a cutout of her, but you can see, actually, if we zoom in a little bit further, it has done quite a good job at getting the cutout of the hair, but it has taken some parts out of the image that we want to stay in. So you can see a little bit here, a little bit up here, but that's fine, because what we can do is we can hold shift and we can basically paint that part of the selection back on. So we're saying to Photoshop we actually want that part back in the image. So my recommendation is just to go around your image and just make sure that that's all been updated. Okay, so brilliant. That's a real quick way of doing it. So as you can see, this person's nice and cut out now, so you can cut them out of that layer and paste them back onto a new layer. And then you could replace the background with a colour if you wanted something solid like that. And as you can see, we've got a pretty good cutout of this. But what happens if you have someone, say, that's on a busier background? It's not often that you got a photo of someone against such a plain or a single colour background. What if there's this busier colour, like in here? So let's go ahead and follow the same step that we did before. Let's go select subject. And as you can see, yeah, Photoshop's still done a pretty good job of getting that. We've got a few things that we had last time, like the bag here not being included, so I'm just going to hold shift and add those back in. And equally, you can hold alt if you want to get rid of a selection that it has selected. So you can see here that the road and the bag, quite similar colour. You can understand Photoshop getting confused there. Okay, brilliant. So yeah, after that's been done, I would go ahead up here to select and mask next to select subject. So what that's going to do is that's going to put us in this window where we can refine our selection a little bit further. So you can change the different view settings up here. This isn't actually going to change your background colour, it's just an easier way of seeing what you have selected. Personally, I go with on black or overlay, but I know a lot of people use black and white. You just play around with it and see whatever you prefer, whatever your preference is, and obviously you can change them as you go. Well, the first thing you want to do with this is you want to scroll down to decontaminate colours, and what that's going to do is that's going to take away any of those bleeding colours around the edge. Normally if someone's in an environment, you'll get part of the colour of them on them, or if you're cutting someone out of a white background, you'll see a few pixels of white around them where you've cut out. You obviously don't want them, so decontaminate colours actually gets rid of those automatically for you, so fantastic. Always make sure that that is selected. And then what you want to do is scroll up, and your radius, you want to increase that by a bit, and that's just going to automatically detect some of the edges, maybe some of the background that's in the hair. So finally on this one, we've got a few details that have been missed, like the hand up here, but it's okay, not to worry. We've got two tools here. There's Refine Edge Brush Tool and the Brush Tool. So with Refine Edge Brush Tool, that allows us to really paint onto the image and tell Photoshop, we don't want this color, get out of here. and as you can see, it's going to get rid of that green by the fingers. Okay, excellent. Let's go ahead and hit OK on that. And as you can see, we've got a pretty good cutout. Let me just add our lovely purple background. Yeah, looks like a fantastic cutout of this person here. So now we've got this shape, this cutout shape. This, as you can see, is a mask on this layer. So we can transform this and move it around. What you might find easier is if you right click and you convert that to a smart object, and that's just going to select this image. If you scale it, you're not going to lose the resolution. If for some reason you want to edit that even finer, perhaps with an eraser tool, then you can right click again and rasterize the layer, and as you can see, that's going to allow us to edit the raster of this image. So what if you want to be like a big YouTube star and cut out your images, put a white stroke around them? You've seen everyone do it. As you can see, this isn't going to have such a great result. We've got a lot of fine detail around the hair, and it just looks messy. Please don't do this. So let's see the final way that you can do it. So here we've got a fantastic picture of Mr. Danny Windsor. We took some staff photos that were updated, and let's say I want to use this on the thumbnail of a video. I could use the method that we've used before, but this time I'm going to go down to the pen tool, and we're going to cut him out manually. So what we're going to do is we'll zoom in as far as we can, really, create a point, and every time you click, it's going to create a new point on the pen tool. Every time you click, if you hold down the click and then continue to drag, it's going to create a curve on the pen tool. And then basically, we'll go round and cut out Mr. Windsor. Now, I'm quite used to using the pen tool, so that it kind of does become a second nature, where to put the different points, where to put the curves, how much to pull the mouse. But if you ever play around with it, you'll probably find that it'll become natural to you fairly quickly. So anytime you get to hair, as you can see with the last time that we tried this, a lot of the times you try and capture all of these individual hairs, you don't get a very good result in stroke. So what we want to do is we want to just stick to the main shape of the hair, just to make sure that stroke layer applies nice and clean when we apply it afterwards. So after that's been done, we want to go ahead and close the path off. So connect it, and then we can right click and make a selection. Make sure that the feather radius is set to 0. And then we have our selection of Mr. Windsor here. So we want to cut him out of the background and paste him onto a new layer. So here you can see we've got a lovely cutout of Mr. Windsor, which if I add a purple background to it and then I apply our stroke over the top, you'll see we get a really nice clean cut white stroke around the outside, which you can apply to a thumbnail, and equally you can move that around. Bear in mind the stroke amount will stay the same regardless of the size. If you don't want that to be the case, you can right click on that and you can rasterize the layer style. That will keep the stroke the same thickness as you scale your image and move it around. So I've seen a lot of people using Remove.bg. I've seen a lot of like LinkedIn posts and stuff just highlighting Remove.bg and the fact that you can just upload an image and it will automatically remove the background for you. Very clever software, absolutely. Personally, I don't use it, but that's just because I feel like it's actually quicker for me to do it in Photoshop this way. Also, Remove.bg, it does cost money as well. Perhaps if you are cutting people out a lot, it might be worth it for you. You know, their pricing and everything. Personally, I just think if I can do it myself within Photoshop, that's my preference. But you know, give it a try and see what option works best for you ultimately. Okay, so that was a quick rundown on how to cut people out on Photoshop. If you liked what I had to say in this video, if you learned anything today, if you liked anything about the video at all, if you're a big Marvel fan like I am, give it a like, subscribe to it, send a carrier pigeon, you could text your nan, text your mum, let her know that this video exists, write a letter to your MP, mention it in passing to your neighbour while you're walking your dog. Oh, just all that jazz. In all seriousness though, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another Giant Wednesday Creative. Now, how do you cut people out of your life?